So in the meantime, we are waiting. I just want to tell you a little short story about Federica. As you might guess from my accent, I'm also from Italy. I met Federica a few years ago in New York, where I was living before moving to.
Okay, gotcha. It's working. Okay, I can mute it.
And guys, please mute yourself if you don't mind.
Yep, and if I mute you, sorry, just trying to help out.
Are we okay, Sam?
Yep, go ahead.
So I met Federica a few years back in New York, and we barely know each other. And it happened one time we happened to be in the same flight back from Milan back to New York, and a passenger got sick. So basically, we had to do an emergency stop in the Azore Islands in the middle of the ocean. So we end up in a military base, in a military island, and this is like real. And we got stuck there for a few hours. So that's how we became friends. And I still remember when she started telling me about her personal project, which is Comfort Zone Shake Up. And this was like a few years ago. She was telling me about her dreams, her project. And I'm very proud of what she has done in the last few years. And she's not just a very smart woman and working for a global brand. She also has like her personal challenge and project, and we thought, considering the situation where we are living today, she's like the perfect person to talk about changes. And I would like to introduce you all to Federica.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, ciao everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Actually, I cannot really still, I'm trying to pinch myself to say, oh, is that true? It's true, I'm here, and I'm very glad to be here talking about my personal project, a project that I started a couple of years ago talking about change. So can you imagine what does it mean today talking about change? So we will go over that. So I would love to officially thank you for the opportunity of speaking today. And I believe that we can just start, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So as you saw, there is a question. This is a question that I will use a lot during this presentation. Can we train for change? So first of all, welcome, but also I cannot say benvenuti. So welcome. My name is Federica, and usually this is me in a normal life with pink short hair. Now, you know where we are, in which phase on our life, what we are living right now these days. So my pink is no more there, but I still like to introduce myself as a pink woman. So a little bit, I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about me. Through the lens of my personal life, my passions. I study ballet for 25 years, as well as a little bit of my professional life. So let's jump into my personal life. I'm from Italy. I was born and grew up in Italy, actually in a small, tiny town called Moje, that's the right pronunciation, which is this red dot over here in the middle of Italy. And this is the skyline of my very tiny town, which has 5,000 people. Can you believe? I spent most of my life there, and then I moved to Milan. So this is another very famous skyline. This is a part of Milan called Navigli. I spent 8 years in Milan before moving into New York. So this is Times Square. That's my face that was in Times Square for 3 months. And actually, can you imagine, my place is just around the corner. So I'm speaking now from my apartment, my place, that it's just around the corner of Times Square. So I'm in Midtown, New York. The reason why I was able to move from a small town to Milan first and then to the US was also thanks to another passion of mine. So one of my big passion, it's not only ballet, let's say, but it's also marketing. So I used to work, I'm working in marketing, and I used to work for a brand that probably most of you know. It's an Italian brand, Pellegrino. The real name is San Pellegrino, but I know full well that the name that is used in the US is Pellegrino. I was working for San Pellegrino for 6 years. I was in charge of different brands within the San Pellegrino portfolio, both for Italy, for the Italian market, as well as for the international market. So 10 years ago, I was here working for San Pellegrino in the US for 6 months. And then after San Pellegrino, I spent another big part of my career working for Philips. Philips is a Dutch company. I started my career with Philips as a marketing manager when I was in Milan. I spent there 3 years, and then they promoted me and they asked me to join the North America team. So my new adventure in the US started 6 years ago thanks to Philips. I spent 6 years in Philips. You can see a small light bulb. I was in charge of Philips Hue, the connected lighting. It's a big success for Philips, and I'm very proud that I was in charge of the marketing for North America. And then 3 years ago, I moved to Samsung. I joined Samsung 3 years ago in charge of marketing strategy, and I'm actually with Samsung. So why I want to, that's a bit of a flavor about me, but also why I choose to mention both my personal life as well as my professional life. What do they have in common? So I thought that the best way to describe myself was also a combination of personal and professional life. And this combination is made of elements such as curiosity, love of learning, grit, growth mindset, and a certain kind of attitude, as well as a sort of passion. But this time, instead of having me saying attitude and passion for what, I will leave you a small clip that it's very important to describe my attitude for a certain topic. Let's see.
We're here. Take a good long look, Remy. Now this is what happens when a rat gets a little too comfortable around humans. The world we live in belongs to the enemy. We must live carefully. We look out for our own kind, Remy. When all is said and done, we're all we've got.
No.
What?
No. Dad, I don't believe it. You're telling me that the future can only be more of this?
This is the way things are. You can't change nature.
Change is nature, Dad. The part that we can influence. And it starts when we decide.
Where are you going?
With luck, forward.
And here we are. I thought that this is a very important clip because Rennie, the character from Ratatouille, is saying that change is nature, and we should always look forward. And this is what I really like about the idea of change. If I look back, both my professional as well as my personal life has been made by how I was able to really manage change. Sometimes I can tell you, sometimes it was very easy, and I was very, very good in managing the changes of my life. Sometimes it was a little bit tough. So that's also the reason why I got this passion, this interest to try to understand how do we deal with change. So what is all about change? So that's also the reason why I started my journey, a journey that allows me to create my personal project that I call Comfort Zone Shake Up. And we will see why I decided to call the project like that, and what is Comfort Zone Shake Up. I like to think a Comfort Zone Shake Up as a sort of catalyst to explore, experiment, and expand our comfort zones. But ultimately, my idea is really try to answer a question. Can we train for change? So can we train to embrace change? That's essentially the key question behind my entire project. So before jumping in, there is another important question, or we will use the next question really to jump into the project. Why we should change? We just saw that change is in our nature, and life is change. But why should we change? So if we consider that what we are living, we are living in a very peculiar moment, but overall we can say that the world is changing at a speed and scale like never seen before. And it's you can see that I highlighted in pink, my favorite color, two keywords, speed and scale. And I want to really point out and to do a sort of double click on speed and scale. The best way I can think of to talk about speed is by using the technology adoption rates. You know that I work in technology, so sorry about that, but this is very impressive in my opinion, and it helps us to really understand the nature of the change, and most importantly, the speed of a change. So you can see a lot of numbers, but what is all about this slide, as you can see, there are a certain number, 10, 20, 30. So those are the number of years that a certain technology took to really penetrate the 25% of the US population. And then you have all the different technologies. Now, as you can see, from if you look at the first line, electricity, so the light bulb, took almost 50 years to be able to be adopted by the 25% of the US population. And as you can see, the more we are going down, the more we see that the speed is increasing, and the number of years to really penetrate, to really reach the 25% of the market is really going smaller and smaller. And at the top, we can see smartphones. And as you see, it took less than 10 years to the smartphone technology to really reach more, I would say, the 25% of the US population. And this is even, it's true also for smart speaker. If you think of smart speakers such as Alexa or Google Home, it took them less than 3 years to really reach the 25% of the US population, and now even less than 5 to reach 50% of the population. So this is what's the impact and why I'm really pointing out the speed of the technology adoption. Because behind the technology adoption, there is a change on our behavior. So can you imagine a world without electricity? Of course, no. Can you imagine our day by day without a smartphone? Probably no. And can you imagine what kind of behavioral change we went through in such a limited amount of time? So that's, in my opinion, something that we should take into consideration, probably not every day, but it's an important component in our day-by-day life. And also, if we look at the future, and if we look, we are in the middle of the largest technological transformation. As you can see, there are a lot of technologies, and then you can see a spike. So what will happen in the next few years, we will have even a bigger and higher impact. So there are estimations that says that humanity will change more in the next 20 years than in the previous 300 years. And these are all elements that are going to reinforce what I mean when I say that the world is changing at a scale and speed. So this was a focus on speed. The best way that I found to really provide a couple of examples on scale is related to the climate change movement. As you can see, there are two images over here. And can you imagine that between the image of Greta Thunberg by herself and the image that was taken during the climate strike in September, there is less than 1 year. And this movement involved 4,500 places, 150 countries, almost 7.6 million of people in less than a year. And it's really impressive in terms of scale. And now, of course, we are in a moment in which we are experiencing, all of us, we are all experiencing a sort of combination. There is one macro trend, there is one element that we are living that has the characteristics of combining scale and speed. And of course, I'm talking about the coronavirus. So what we are experiencing now in terms of scale and speed is unprecedented. So the image that the snapshot is a snapshot that I took today at 2 p.m. And this is something that numbers says that there are more than 2 million in the world that are involved. So the scale is a global scale. But if you consider the speed, the same image took, if we think that only 1 month ago or 1 month and a half ago or 2 months ago, the situation was completely different. This is it's unfortunately, it's an example of how things at the macro level are moving fast at the speed and scale like never before. So those are just 3 examples of what we can define as a macro trend. We just talk about technology, we talk about climate change, and we talk about coronavirus. Now you can think of why you are telling me all about macro trend and technology and climate change. This is similar to a sort of very macro snapshot. And the best way that I can find to describe the macro view is by using the Google Maps technology. So now imagine for a moment to look at the Google Map. Google Map, you can see the red dot is where I am right now. So what we just discussed about technology, about climate change, about COVID-19 is something so high level, so macro, that sometimes we tend to consider not so relevant for our day-by-day life, not for the coronavirus, unfortunately, but bear with me. So now, what if we are going to move from a macro perspective to a micro perspective? I'm sure that you did that using Google Maps several times. So, you know, you are Googling something, you want to know where a place is. So you can really easily move from a macro view to a micro view. So let's try to look at to do exactly the same exercise. So from the entire world map, we can try to zoom in and we can see just the United States, and then I'm getting closer and I can see New York, and then I'm getting closer a little bit more and I can see the red dot where I live, and we are moving. This is just an example, and Google Maps is a tool to really help us understand that we can easily zoom from a macro perspective to a micro perspective. And who is the micro? We are the micro, all of us. All of us, single individual, dealing with our daily lives. So something that is apparently so far away, so general, so high level, in reality, it's very close to our daily lives. And also our lives is, everybody in our life is really struggling with changes, sometimes changes that, we wanted, that we desire, that we chosen. In some other cases, the changes are changes that are unexpected. Can you imagine? I mean, we can all imagine what we are living, an unexpected change of our lives. So the key message that I want to provide here is that there is a correlation between the macro and the micro. So what is happening at the macro level has an impact to our micro individual level. At the same time, with our daily action, we can shape and we can have an impact on the macro. So we can really change the world if we want, of course. So as you can see, there is an interconnection between the macro and micro, and between the micro and the macro. So why what I'm telling you is so important? Why should we care about that? It's easy, and we are experiencing that every day. It's all about how we feel. And when it is a matter of talking about change, it's always a matter of how we feel. And how do we feel right now? I can ask you this question, and I'm sure that everybody feels something slightly different, because we are all different, we are all unique. So it's important to really acknowledge our emotional state. It's really important to really understand how we feel. And sometimes, because we are moving fast, we don't invest enough time to really understand how we feel. And most importantly, how we feel about change. How do we feel every time we are facing something new? How do we feel every time we envision a potential threat? So there is one way, the best way probably, to describe how we feel and what we feel is this one. Probably the first reaction is fear. Fear is a normal reaction. Fear is a very powerful emotion. And thanks to fear, humanity survived a long time ago. So it's normal, to experience fear. It's just one of our basic emotions. Of course, emotions are very sophisticated, and it's not only a matter of experiencing fear. It's a matter of also, we can mention disgust, we can mention anger, sadness, we can mention joy. Those are just our basic emotions, and improving our emotional consciousness is very important. And also, it's really difficult to experience just one emotion. Probably it's most likely we are experiencing a combination of different emotions, a blend of emotions. I know that this is tiny, but for example, if we are experiencing a little bit of sadness as well as fear, in reality, it's something very close to anxiety. So it's not only a matter of basic emotion, it's also a matter of, being sort of anxious, worried, stressed. So especially in this period, I I didn't put a lot of number here, but I've been investigating the level of anxiety, stress, and worry of not only the US population, but as well as the world population. And I can tell you that even before the coronavirus experience, the trend were absolutely impressive in terms of how much our society is really getting more stressed out and worried and anxious. Now everything is even worse because of the situation that we are facing. So how we can survive to all of this, how to survive, how to thrive, because as human beings, we want, everybody is different, but we all aim to really thrive in our life. So one of the approach that I want to discuss with you today is try to think of training to be prepared to embrace change. And I found, and this is the last clip that I'm gonna show you, one of the movies that I like is called Hidden Figure. Probably you know the movie. There is one particular scene in which the protagonist, the character, is showing really the right attitude to manage change. So when you think in terms of, okay, how we supposed to train for change, let's see just a couple of minutes of this amazing movie.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? You can't be in here. Who are you?
I'm with the West Computing Group. Dorothy Vaughn, sir.
Well, this is a very delicate piece of equipment.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm just trying to be helpful. It's one of those things that history will remember. And Dorothy Vaughn will be remembered by her own actions.
Well, I'll be. What's your name again?
Dorothy Vaughn.
She had foresight into the IBM and realized really quickly that the IBM was going to be it. It was going to be the wave of the future.
It'll run eventually. And when it does, we have to know how to program it. Unless you'd rather be out of a job. No, ma'am.
And then most of those women from both the East Group and the West Group ended up being the programmers on that IBM.
We've been reassigned. Leave your calculators. You won't need them where we're going.
And here we are, the perfect attitude to manage change. In this case, it was another innovation in technology, the new IBM machine. And that's exactly the attitude that we should have to try to really embrace change. And I'm back here to one of my questions. Can we train for change? Can we train to really embrace change? Let me tell you that for me, it's not only a yes, it's absolutely we can train, absolutely yes. And sorry. And let's try to understand how to do that. And we can even mention Charles Darwin that almost 200 years ago was saying that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, is the one that is more adaptable, more flexible to change, is the one that is really able to embrace change. And let me tell you that if I think of change, I can tell you that change is always a matter of comfort zone. So comfort zone, what does it mean, comfort zone? So I will tell you that just an easy definition of comfort zone, just to be on the same page, is a psychological state in which everything feels a sort of familiar, at ease, in control. And when we are inside our comfort zone, our level of anxiety and stress is very limited. So comfort zone is not necessarily a negative state of mind, or it can be a positive way, except that sometimes it doesn't allow us to really thrive and survive, and also it doesn't allow us to really manage what is happening in our world. We saw in a world that is changing so fast and in a way that is so strong, we really cannot think to be constantly inside our comfort zone. Now, the approach to the comfort zone, if you try to Google comfort zone, probably you will find something similar to that. A comfort zone in one place and something magic that is happening completely disconnected from your comfort zone. Other important and famous images are, you know, the fish that is trying to jump out of its bowl, life begins at the end of your comfort zone, or images very aspirational. Everything is very good, and it's for sure one important way to look at change. Life begins at the end of the comfort zone. It's very, very aspirational, I will say, and it's a good way. It's I'm totally with it. I can buy that. I jumped outside my comfort zone several times, but then let's try to deconstruct a little bit. What does it mean to jump out of your comfort zone? Have you ever thought about, okay, but let's try to understand, okay, what if I'm gonna jump? You know, there are situations in our life in which the only option that we have is just to jump. There is no option, no way to do nothing else. But okay, what does it mean? If we consider to jump out of our comfort zone, for sure there will be a before and after the jump. That's okay. But what is happening before the jump? First of all, before the jump, we can experience a bit of a stress and anxiety. The jump can be, you know, an unexpected jump, so we do not have any time to do any preparation. And yeah, we just need to jump from one day to another one, from 1 minute to another one. Or we can even have a sort of long preparation to do the jump. And usually we can jump in a limited number of occasions. And the preparation time, if the jump is something that we are deciding, can be very long. After the jump, we can experience stress and anxiety, and sometimes there is this desire to really give up. And that's the reason why I felt, you know, inspired by saying, okay, but my approach, it's called comfort zone shake-up. It's not only comfort zone. What does it mean having that element of shake-up to the entire approach? So shake-up means reassess, reorganize, change the way we look at change. So it's a little bit of a sort of a joke, but let's try to really change the way we look at change. What if I'm gonna tell you that life begins inside our comfort zone? Oh, we just saw that life begins outside the comfort zone. Bear with me, I will show you how it's possible that life begins inside your comfort zone. Let's try, first of all, to understand, okay, what about life? If you think of our life flows continuously. There is not, we don't live only when we are jumping outside our comfort zone. Our life flows. And if you think of another important element, which is time, what about time? Time, despite everything, it goes. Time doesn't care if we are not ready to jump. Time goes on and on. And what if, this is another important what if, again, we are trying to go from a macro perspective to the micro perspective. In this case, what does it mean? We can look at the macro perspective as our entire life and our whole life. And the micro perspective is related to our everyday life. So if we look at that, we can see that our life is made of seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, years, but more important, seconds, minutes, very tiny, tiny, tiny piece of time. And we can use this time to really expand our comfort zone. So the idea behind the entire approach is really that we can start from the micro. We can start with micro actions, and we can really work to expand instead of just jump out of our comfort zone. And we can train for change. train is an attitude, change is an attitude, and we can train, we can think of train about change. So if before there was just one option to look at change by jumping outside our comfort zone, this option is still valid, and again, sometimes is our only option, but we can have another option. We can have the option to really shaking up our comfort zone and think of expanding our comfort zone. So start from tomorrow or start from today. Why don't we think of approaching, embracing change by starting with micro actions, not from a big deal, micro actions by expanding our comfort zones and by training for change. What we are living, it's we are living in a very, very strange moment right now. And we jumped. So there was this change of the situation that pushed us to really jump outside our comfort zone. Nobody asked me, are you ready? Are you ready for the coronavirus? No, nobody asked. And in a few weeks, our lives changed completely. But now we are in this moment, and now we have the power to really shape our day by day. And again, let's start from micro action. Let's think of expanding our comfort zone, and let's try to train for change. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to train for change from my website, from my social media channel. So if you want to, train with me and continue the discussion, I will be happy to do so. Lisa, that's for you. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think I unmute myself. I was just saying, I know your story, so I actually start training with you before, but I'm happy that today could be an inspiration for everyone else here. And I really agree with what you said and about micro actions. And I don't know, my first question for you right now would be, can you suggest to people like some micro action they can do in their daily life, or like starting from our home?
Absolutely. And I believe the best way to train for change is really to try to have in mind three main phases. So we touch base the emotional part. It's really important to understand how we feel. So to start by ourselves, how we feel in that particular moment. So it's important to really invest time to get to know our emotions. How do we feel? To read about, to try to understand our emotion and the emotions of people next to us. That's an important component. And then another one is really related to what I like to think. How we think is related to our mindset. There is an approach with that I like that is related to the mindset. We should all aim versus having a growth mindset. So a growth mindset can do the difference, especially in moments like that. And then, of course, the moment in which you know how you feel, you pay attention on how you think, that's when you can manage how to act. So this means you can really start working on your habits, working on your time management. I don't see, sometimes we tend to jump immediately to the action. So tell me what I should do. And I do believe that the process itself has a tremendous value. There is a process of, how we feel, how we think, and how we act. And we can use this time, we can use the social distancing that we should take in this period to really work on ourselves, having in mind those three components.
So I cannot agree more. To me, what I hear from especially my friend, like the hardest thing is going through this process when you are by yourself. Because lots of the people, a lot of the issues people have right now is you live with someone, but there are also a lot of people actually, they have not this luck at their home by themselves. So you literally go from like, okay, today I'm positive, let's do it, to, oh my God, I'm by myself, and like you're lost. What do you say to those people?
I believe that we do have the opportunity to really not to be, sometimes it's good to be a little bit disconnected from all the stream of information that are bombarding us. So we need to pay attention to the overload of the information because we tend to compare a lot our life with the life of other people, as well as because, you know, we are constantly checking about the situation, about what is going on. So take it easy, take your time, and try to really work on yourself.
Okay. Hey, if anyone has a question, please write in the chat so we can open the conversation with Federica. And so someone wrote, what do you do when you feel like you're not doing enough and you're struggling to get out of your comfort zone?
As I said, I'm trying not to go out of it. No, that's not true. I'm constantly trying to work on my comfort zone. Sometimes it's getting out, but sometimes it's really that this concept of expanding our comfort zone is something that should come from within. So essentially, I see the expansion of the comfort zone of something very organic in which we are trying to do every day something a little bit better or different. There is one sentence, probably I use that at the beginning. I like to think in terms of explore, experiment, and expand. So behind the concept of expansion, there is, okay, it's important to really explore. There is an important, I just read a book with an important quote that says, okay, I only know 5% of the things that I can possibly learn. 10% are the things that I know that I don't know. And then all the rest is made of things that I don't know that I don't know. So the explore phase in our life, it's crucial, it's important. And so when I feel that it's not enough, I'm trying to really be curious. I'm trying to explore new things. Or even when I believe that I know something, I try to look at the same things with different eyes, with different lens. And then there is the important part of the experimentation. Let's try. If something is not working, it's an opportunity to learn. It's never a failure.
So we have another question from Dave. He said, what would you say is the key step or key ingredient or key action one must take to shift the fixed mindset to the growth mindset?
Mm-hmm. Training and exercising. So what I like to do, there are a lot of infographic online that shows the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. And of course, we are not 100% fixed mindset and 100% growth mindset. We are a blend of different, of the both of the mindset, as well as, there are situations in which we can show a predominant mindset and maybe a fixed mindset on something, but while we are using a growth mindset on the other one. And I remember that when I first heard about the mindset and the growth mindset and fixed mindset, what I did, There is a great TED talk that I recommend watching from Professor Carol Dweck, and then there is an amazing book called Mindset. So I did the exploration, so the explore something, but then I printed out the differences between fixed mindset and growth mindset, because when you read it, it's okay, it's very intuitive, so that's totally fine. But when you have the opportunity to really see in front of you, in front of my desk, the differences between the two mindset, this is when you are able to really start using the concept in a more actionable way. So, and you start say, okay, in this situation, what kind of mindset am I using? Am I reacting properly? Am I reacting through the lens of a fixed mindset or through the lens of a growth mindset? So I recommend going online, try to look at an infographic in which there are a lot of comparison. So usually reaction from a fixed mindset and reaction from a growth mindset. And you can see that most of the time our behavior, the way in which we react, can be related to one or the other. But being conscious of which mindset we are using can be very helpful in trying to really learn to use the growth mindset. It's a journey. We cannot switch. So a human being is very sophisticated and we live in a complex world. I'm not in favor of, fast solution and one size fits all solution. 3 steps to change your life. You saw 3 buckets, but I like to think in terms of approach, not in terms, I will tell you 3 steps, 3 easy, because not only 3 easy steps to really change your life. It's not really like that. It's more organic. It's more, it takes time. We cannot change our life from one day to another one.
Thank you. We have another question from Nick. He wrote, you have been working a lot of large business settings. How have you been able to bring these ideas to your career? How do you get buy-in from people who might be more inclined to play this safe?
Actually, that's a very great question. And the reason why I started by using both of my lives. So this is my personal project. But of course, behind the idea, there is my personal experience as well as my professional experience. I've been trying to drive change. Actually, I was able also to drive change also from a marketing standpoint. So I really like to push the boundaries. I moved from a CPG kind of environment into more of a digital and then into an Internet of Things, artificial intelligence kind of marketing driven. So every time I was always trying to push change. And I realized that there are a lot of people that don't want to change also at work. So it was something that probably I was lucky at the beginning of my career, but I never realized that when I became a manager, managing people, I realized that the reaction of them was very, very, very different. And I have to tell you that the reason why I started a project like that, it's also to be able to have the right stories and really to be able to inspire people that are working for me or with me to embrace change. And knowing the tool, we talked about mindset just a few minutes ago. I didn't know anything about mindset until 3-4 years ago. I remember when I saw the TED Talk and immediately I jumped reading a book, I say, oh my God, I found what I need, because that's the right lens to really look through, to really approach change. The growth mindset is, especially the growth mindset, is very close to the idea that I do have. in terms of embracing change. So talking with people, talking with your co-worker, try to engage with them, using videos, using, you know, suggested books to really try to inspire them.
Another question from Leila.
Hi, Leila.
Is it just our personal feelings internally, or there is a way to evaluate the success?
What do you mean exactly? Let me see if I understood. Let me try to, if you want, because
Hi, can you hear me, Federica?
Hi. Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Yeah, so the question was, how do we, I mean, the first part of the question was missing. So how do we evaluate the success of going out of our comfort zone? That's the question. So how do we understand if we actually could, if we were able to move out of the comfort zone? And I mean, what are the key areas of success here? Like, is that like just the internal feeling that I feel like comfortable now in this new environment, or is it more like, you know, there are like formal keys or like indicators that we can would show us now you're successful, you're comfortable in this environment?
Yeah, thanks for the question. This is very important actually, because, you know, sometimes if you happen, I mean, if you read something that I do have a website in which I like to write a lot, let's say, and you know, one way in which I like to define what you just asked, it's by using the wow effect. Why is that? Every one of us should be able to really identify what makes him or her happy. So it's a way to really try to achieve a concept of well-being, and that concept of well-being, it's personal and it's unique to all of us. So having the goal that it's our North Star can be something that is driving us to really jump or expand our comfort zone. So I like to think of, I like to call it a wow, because, you know, there is no right or wrong concept. For me, my wow can be being happy in New York. For another person can be, you know, being very successful in his or her career. For another can be family. So the wow is something that it's very personal. It's so general as the concept, because everybody can really use the wow as a way that feel right for himself. And when that is clear, or it's yeah, let's say that when the wow is clear, we can really design a path to really achieve and maintain what we want to achieve as a wow. Thank you for the question, and nice to see you. We used to work together in one of the company.
I don't know, anyone has other questions so far? There is like a discussion going on from our participant, which actually I like it. And if you guys don't do already, I highly suggest to follow Federica and check her blog. Also, we are gonna send later a recap email with their contacts. So, and if you couldn't participate, or you know someone, we also gonna like send a link, and you can like check again this video. And I don't know, Sam, do you have any other question for her or anyone?
I have something. Can I ask out loud?
Hello.
Hi, Federica.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. I come by way of Creative Mornings, the Denver chapter, and I'm just kind of thinking through the lens of creativity and design. Like, how does this connect to that? How do you see the correlation between shaking up your comfort zone and being a creative human or a creative spirited human? Is there
I see an important correlation. For me, it's really being able to look at the same reality through using different lens. I don't know if you experience that in your life, but sometimes we see things always in a certain way, and then something is happening and we are able to really experience that or to see the same things through completely different lens. And I believe that behind a creative process, there is the ability to really, change the perspective. I used a lot the macro versus micro perspective. That's not a different, it's just a different way to look at the world, because if you use it's just a basic kind of approach, but changing the perspective can make a huge difference. And then of course being curious, explore. I really selected my keyword when I say explore, experiment, and expand. I see that as a sort of rolling kind of approach, because if you explore, and then of course we went through very quickly every single component of this presentation as other, let's say, buckets and boxes, because we can unpack a concept, explore. Behind the explore, there is the concept of cognitive bias. There are, you can really be able to explore, to use your curiosity, to use your creativity, to be open-minded, really be able to explore. And then the experimentation phase is also something that is absolutely peculiar. But if you do have bias in the exploration phase, you don't allow the experimentation to really flourish, because you are already limiting yourself. So the best that I can say, that's, by the way, it's also in my opinion true for marketing. So as a marketer, I can say the same. So looking at things from a different perspective can open new possibilities. I really believe that.
I usually say there is no right or wrong. There are just different point of views.
Yes.
And sometimes things changes like every day.
And there is, if I may, I know that we are almost closing. There is another important, let's say, concept. Sometimes is when I talk about macro trend. Sometimes I include that, which is the concept of diversity. We really need to train ourselves to recognize diversity, to respect diversity, and to embrace diversity. Sometimes it's easy to hang out with people that are like you, that don't have pink hair. I'm not pink anymore, but okay, that think like you, behave like you, and you are at ease. And when there is someone with a strange English accent or just different, sometimes it's not easy to embrace that. But diversity is another important component, because it's a value. And from different point of view, from different experiences, from different culture, we can really build something bigger, better, and different, let's say.
And diversity is one of the reasons why we want to have you here today.
Thank you.
I'm gonna unmute all, and I hope you enjoy it. And I would like to have a clap for you.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone. And thank you so much. So it's 5 p.m. here in Denver, so we don't want to take your time. I just want to say thank you again. You have all the social media, the website here on the page. If you didn't already, take a picture with your phone now, or you can check your email later.
Now or never.
Now
or never.
Receive all of them.
Thank you. Feel free to reach me if you want to continue the conversation. I will be happy to. Thanks for the opportunity. This was just a snapshot of the entire project. There is much, much more, but I wanted to have also a space for Q&A and conversation.
Also, one last thing, if any one of you wanna like stay live for a bit, we have AIGA Colorado have a Slack account, so we're gonna continue the conversation there. So if anyone wants, you can see the link here in our chat. Just click on that, and then we are gonna move the conversation on there. Grazie Federica.
Thank you. Ciao. It's a pleasure. Ciao.
Ciao Fede. Ciao Lisa, grazie.
Ciao ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.